Yes, Your Excellency, Dr. David Stewart, President of the Royal University of Women, Your Excellency and friend Amin Sharkawi, UN Resident Coordinator in the Kingdom of Bahrain, and Mr. Abdullah Ahmed Al-Darazi, Vice Chairman of the National Institution for Human Rights, Mr. Najib Friji, Director of the International Peace Institute, Middle East and North Africa, and Mrs. Mashail Al-Qutami, Excellencies, dignitaries, and most of all, dear students. I thank you very much for honoring Germany's humble contribution to UN celebrations of the 17th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights worldwide by hosting me this morning to this event. So why does Germany support these celebrations with the UN? Remembering, going back to historic dates and asking about their significance for us today is very valuable. Sometimes it is also painful. Last Sunday was such a day of remembrance. It was the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. On 27th of January 1945, Soviet troops liberated Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration and extermination camp, the most terrible place in the world. In the preceding years, the Nazi regime's murderous disregard of human rights had plunged the world into deep despair. But less than 4 years later, on 10th December 1948, the states invoked the dignity and the inalienable rights of each and every individual by proclaiming the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, thus at once making a pledge and assuring obligations. And I think it is very important that what Amin has highlighted, the contribution of people of very different backgrounds, genders, and upbringings to the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. For Germany, however, the respect of human rights for decades did not extend to the whole German people. In East Germany, a repressive regime withheld basic political rights from German citizens living there until the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. So for Germany, human rights have never been taken for granted. True, today we can rely on a stable system for the protection of human rights. The United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the various supervisory bodies, and the many UN mandate holders. But this system cannot be taken for granted, especially in these times. On the contrary, we need to resolutely defend all that we have achieved. That is why, to give just one example, the federal government of Germany wrote last year to 7,000 German companies, urging them to implement the human rights due diligence worldwide. For one thing is clear, if human rights are not implemented, peace and security will remain fragile, and development and prosperity cannot be secured for the long term. And the private sector shares its responsibility in this. The challenges facing us are changing too. Today, we are confronted by challenges which didn't exist 70 years ago. Globalization, digitalization, migration, climate change, they all know no borders. The global climate is changing at a tremendous rate, even if there are some who still confuse climate with weather. This has long ceased to be solely an environmental problem. If sea levels rise and extreme weather hampers access to clean water, it is also a human rights problem. This goes to show that human rights are about far more than what we might call traditional human rights protection. There are a host of new issues. The link between climate and security is one of them, and we have said this will be a focus of Germany's UN Security Council membership, which has begun at the beginning of this year. This development, the link between climate and security, inevitably means also that there will be more migration. And this makes our achievement in the Global Compact for Migration where many nations actively participated, all the more important. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. So says Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Thank you.